I've never kissed a man. I hopefully never will. But when it comes to Patrick Stewart, anything goes. So you can imagine, when I found out he was going to be in our next game review, I flipped out. So let us now please review Castlevania, Lords of Shadow. Castlevania, the classic title from the NES that spawned a legion of fans excited by this 2010 remake. But does it hold on to any of the classic story or gameplay? Presented by Hideo Kojima, this game was developed by Mercury Studios and Konami, and it takes on the action-adventure genre in an attempt to compete with those heavyweight titles such as God of War 3 and Bayonetta. But does it hold up? We find out. First of all, this game seems more like a separate fantasy adventure game rather than a Castlevania remake. There's really not that much to link the two. You follow Gabriel Belmont, a knight of the Brotherhood of Light who journeys to take out the Lords of Shadow after his love was killed. It's basically a good versus evil kind of tale, and it's told splendidly. With its narration and storybook-like approach, it plays like an age-old fairy tale. There's definitely a Lord of the Rings feel to it, and it really captures the fantasy adventure theme really well. It's very epic in nature, and many likeable characters and cool looking enemies and beasts, with many David vs Goliath kind of moments in the game and quick loading times. It's a real joy to play through this game's fantastic story. Lords of Shadow is a very polished looking game. From the opening cutscenes to the shake of Gabriel's hair, there's some real eye candy here. Character movements are smooth, he has a bunch of sweet looking combat skills, each lichen, vampire, ghoul or beast all look terrifying and sinister, and it's awesome watching those finishing moves. The art direction is superb, especially when it comes to the levels. As you see little wildlife running around and some jaw-dropping scenery, it's very easy on the eye. Cutscenes are directed wonderfully and they're really not too long, which helps with the flow of the game. It is annoying in the game with not having a movable camera, but the camera angles you're given do work well and they present the game with much style. It's also packed with these invisible walls that you'll constantly be running into, and you really don't get much of a sense of freedom to explore the levels, and this can really just frustrate you for no reason at all sometimes. Sound is a true highlight with a fantastic epic score throughout the game. Narration by Patrick Stewart makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, and the other voice actors such as Robert Carlyle and Natasha McElhone are really brilliant. Scary howls, huge hits, horrific stabbing sounds make this game a delight for the ear. What's good, but also a little unoriginal of the game, is that it borrows from a bunch of great titles. You'll definitely notice the climbing from Uncharted, Shadow of the Colossus boss battles, and pretty much everything that was in God of War. But Mercury Storm have mixed it well, so it all runs pretty smoothly. Gabriel has a bunch of slashing and thumping attacks with his cross/chain weapon thingy, and after punishing an enemy enough, you'll get to finish them off in brutal fashion. Throughout the game you'll collect upgrades and new weapons and gain experience points or orbs, and you'll always be on the lookout for dead soldiers that give you items and hints. I particularly enjoyed the puzzles in this game and thought they were quite challenging in some areas. Whilst quite a long game, you'll be able to go back to any level you've completed through the world map menu and be able to look for those gems that you couldn't access before. Boss battles themselves are great and the gameplay is quite enjoyable as it mixes up some very interesting elements. But the gameplay does suffer from that lack of freedom in the levels, and you'll constantly be yelling at the TV, "What the hell?" as it really gives you a poor direction of where to go and nagging control features sometimes. And it really disrupts your video game enjoyment, especially when everything else in this game runs so smoothly.
I am helping you, but you would be wrong. I serve no one. You would do well to remember that.
Whilst Castlevania is very much borrowed from God of War 3 and it does have some nagging technical issues, it still is an awesome experience that fantasy lovers will undoubtedly enjoy. And it's got a great story and it's a real payoff to see the ending. So for Castlevania Lords of Shadow, I give it a solid 9.27 out of 10.04.